It carried a weight of resolve that no Krelian machine could match. Across the fleet, Krelian officers began to whisper in disbelief. We cannot control them, one muttered. They are unstoppable. The word echoed in every command center. The Empire's perfect strategy had failed. Their pride was shattered. Their technology, brilliant and precise, had met something far greater, the human spirit. Captain Lara's hands shook slightly as she said, "No one warned us. About humans." She knew it was too late for regret. The humans had already proven that courage, unity, and willpower could defeat even the most advanced weapons. The Krelian Empire had underestimated something immeasurable, and the consequences were catastrophic. The battle had turned. The Krelian fleet, once feared across the galaxy, was broken. Humans, battered but unbowed, pressed forward, not with hatred or malice, but with courage, determination, and hope. And in that moment, one truth became clear. Humans were not just fighters, they were a force of nature, unstoppable, unbreakable, and alive in ways no one could predict. As the energy beam faded into the void, Captain Nathan looked to the stars. We fight together. We survive together. And no one can stop us when we refuse to give in. His words carried across the fleet, into the hearts of every human, and even into the minds of the Krelian officers who watched helplessly. The turning point had come. The humans had shown the galaxy that courage, unity, and willpower were stronger than any weapon, and the Krelian Empire would never forget the lesson. Humans could not be controlled, predicted, or defeated. Not now, not ever. The void of space was silent now, but it was not empty. The remnants of the Krelian fleet drifted among the stars, broken and powerless. The humans, though battered and scarred, remained intact. Every ship carried the weight of battle, yet the crew moved with purpose. They were not celebrating victory, for they had seen enough loss to know its cost. Instead, they pressed forward with calm determination. Captain Nathan stood on the bridge of his flagship, gazing at the distant Krelian ships. "We don't fight for hatred," he said quietly. "We fight because we have to. We fight for life, for each other, and for the future we refuse to let slip away." His crew listened, hearts steady, minds focused. They had faced fear, destruction, and death, and still their resolve had not wavered. Across the battlefield, Krelian officers struggled to comprehend what they had witnessed. Lieutenant Morn, sitting in stunned silence, whispered, "It's not their weapons. It's not their numbers. It's their will. They survive because they refuse to die. They fight because they choose to live." Every Krelian officer felt it, the invisible force that humans carried. Stronger than any shield or weapon, courage. Captain Lara's pride, once unshakable, had fractured. She had led the greatest fleets the galaxy had ever seen, and yet she had watched them crumble before creatures she had thought weak, insignificant, fragile. "They don't fight like any other race," she admitted. "They fight with their hearts, with their lives, with everything they are." Fear and respect battled within her. The humans were no longer just opponents, they were a revelation. Meanwhile, human crews worked tirelessly. Damaged ships were repaired, shields were reinforced, and injured crew members were tended to with care and urgency. In the midst of chaos, humanity's compassion shone as brightly as its courage. No one was abandoned. Every life mattered. Every action was deliberate. Every heartbeat was a weapon of its own. Captain Nathan moved through the corridors of his ship, speaking to his crew personally. "We survived because we never lost hope. We survived because we believe in each other. Remember this in every fight to come. Our strength is not just our technology or our training, it is our unity. It is our will, and that is something no enemy can ever take from us." His words carried warmth, conviction, and inspiration, and the crew responded with quiet nods and steady determination. From the drifting Krelian fleet, some ships raised their signals of surrender. They had seen the humans not as mere soldiers, but as something greater, a force that could not be broken by fear, destroyed by firepower, or predicted by logic. Humans fought with heart, instinct, and purpose, and the Krelian Empire had learned that lesson the hard way. Admiral Vex, confined to his crippled flagship, stared out into the void. "No one warned us about humans," he murmured again, voice heavy with disbelief. "We underestimated them, and now it is too late to regret." He could see the truth clearly. Humans were not just fighters. They were a force that the galaxy had never seen, A species whose courage and resolve transcended machines, tactics, and fear. The humans gathered their fleet, repairing what could be repaired, helping each other without hesitation. Every crew member moved with quiet precision, their unity a testament to their spirit. They did not gloat over victory. They did not boast. They simply continued, focused, ready for whatever the galaxy might throw at them next. Captain Nathan returned to the bridge and gazed at the stars. We fight together. We survive together. And no matter what comes next, we will face it as one. His words carried not only to his crew but to every being watching them from afar. Humans had proven that courage, unity, and resolve were more powerful than fear, more powerful than death, and stronger than any weapon. And in the quiet aftermath, one truth echoed across the galaxy. Humans were unstoppable, unbreakable, and alive in ways no other species had ever imagined. The battlefield was silent now, except for the distant hum of broken Krelian engines. Smoke and debris drifted across the void, illuminated by faint starlight. The humans, though weary and battered, moved with calm determination. They were not triumphant in arrogance, but resolute in purpose. Every ship, every crew member carried the scars of battle and the proof of survival. Captain Nathan stood on the bridge of his flagship, gazing at the distant Krelian remnants. His hands rested on the console, steady and firm. "We do not fight for conquest," he said softly. "We fight for life, for each other, for the right to exist and to protect what we love." His crew listened, hearts filled with quiet pride and unshakable resolve. Each human knew the truth in his words. Courage was their weapon, unity their shield, and hope their strategy. Across the shattered Krelian fleet, the surviving officers struggled to comprehend what they had witnessed. Lieutenant Morn, pale and shaken, whispered to Captain Lara, "We were warned about nothing. Nothing prepared us for this. For them." Captain Lara's eyes reflected fear and awe. "No one warned us about humans. And now it is too late to regret." Their empire, once feared across the galaxy, had crumbled against beings they considered weak, fragile, and primitive. Yet the humans did not gloat. Their victory was quiet, humble, and full of compassion. Crews rescued injured allies, repaired damaged ships, and reassured one another. Every life mattered, every effort counted. Where the Krelian Empire had relied on machines, strategy, and fear, humans relied on instinct, heart, and the bond between them. That bond had carried them through fire, destruction, and despair. Captain Nathan walked through the corridors of his flagship, speaking personally to the crew. "You have done more than survive. You have shown what it means to be human. Remember this. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is standing tall, even when fear surrounds you. Unity is not just strategy, it is trust, love, and belief in each other. And hope. Hope is what carries us when nothing else can." His words inspired the crew, strengthening their hearts even as the battle faded into memory. In the distance, the Krelian ships raised flags of surrender. Some fled, retreating into the stars, while others attempted to understand the humans they had once underestimated. Humans were not just fighters. Humans were a force the galaxy had never seen. A species capable of facing impossible odds, surviving, adapting, and thriving. They were unpredictable, unbreakable, and alive in ways no algorithm or weapon could ever measure. Admiral Vex, confined to the ruins of his flagship, stared at the human fleet. Pride, fear, and awe collided in his mind. "No one warned us about humans," he whispered again, voice shaking. The words carried the weight of a galaxy humbled by courage. Too late, he realized that the Krelian Empire had misjudged something fundamental. Strength was not measured by weapons or numbers, but by the spirit within. Captain Nathan returned to the bridge, looking out at the stars. "We move forward," he said to the crew, his voice calm but unwavering. "Not to destroy, not to conquer, but to survive, to protect, and to remind the galaxy that courage, unity, and hope cannot be broken." Every crew member nodded, feeling the power of the truth in his words. In the quiet that followed, one fact was undeniable. Humans had changed the course of history. The galaxy had learned a lesson it would never forget. No weapon, no strategy, no fear could stand against a species that fought with heart, fought for each other, and refused to surrender. Humans were not just survivors, they were unstoppable. And so, as the stars stretched endlessly before them, the human fleet moved forward, unbowed, undeterred, and alive. The message was simple, clear and unforgettable. No one warned them about humans, and when humans arrived, it was already too late to regret. Hands steady on controls, their eyes focused, their hearts united. A Krelian cruiser attempted to flank the humans, firing a concentrated volley. The plasma bolt streaked forward with deadly speed, calculated to obliterate the target in moments. But a human ship moved between the volleys, splitting the energy with a sudden surge, redirecting it away. The Krelian officers gasped. "How?" whispered one. Every calculation, every prediction had failed again. Lieutenant Morn turned to Captain Lara. "Captain, it's not just their courage. It's their creativity. They see solutions where we see only failure. They adapt faster than we can predict." His voice was tinged with fear, but also with awe. The humans were alive in ways Krelian technology could never imitate. Captain Lara's eyes narrowed. "We are fighting against something we cannot measure," she said quietly. The word heart lingered unspoken in the room. Krelian ships relied on algorithms, on precision, on absolute control. Humans relied on something else entirely: instinct, courage, and the unwillingness to surrender. In space, the human fleet pressed on. They moved with a strange rhythm, dodging attacks, striking weak points, and supporting each other in ways no Krelian tactical manual could explain. When a ship was damaged, others covered it, shielding it, protecting it. It was not just combat. It was a living, breathing strategy, built on trust and unity. Admiral Vex, watching from the command bridge of the Krelian flagship, felt a chill he had never known. "No species has ever resisted us like this," he muttered. His pride, the foundation of centuries of conquest, began to crack. The humans did not fear death. They did not fear the enemy. They fought for life, for each other, for something deeper than mere survival. Captain Nathan saw the hesitation in the Krelian fleet. "They think they can intimidate us with numbers and firepower," he said quietly. "Let them think. Let them see what humans are willing to do. Our courage is stronger than their fear." In that moment, the Krelian officers realized a terrifying truth. They were facing a force that no prediction could contain. No technology could suppress, no weapon could truly destroy. The humans were more than fighters, they were a storm of will, determination, and unity. Lieutenant Morn whispered, almost in awe, "No one warned us about humans." And now it is too late. The battle was far from over. But one thing was certain. The Krelian Empire had never faced anything like the humans, and the galaxy was about to learn a truth that no one could have imagined. Humans were not just survivors, they were unstoppable. The Krelian fleet was falling apart. Ships that had once moved in perfect formation now collided in the darkness of space. Automated systems misfired. Weapon arrays that had never failed before erupted in chaotic bursts. Panic spread like wildfire among the officers. Nothing had prepared them for this. Nothing. Captain Lara's hands gripped the edge of her command console. She could see it unfolding before her eyes. The humans, smaller, slower, and seemingly fragile, had thrown the entire fleet into disarray. Every plan, every strategy, every prediction had failed. "How?" she whispered, disbelief choking her voice. She had commanded victories over entire civilizations. She had never known fear in her life, and yet now fear crept into her heart. Lieutenant Morn's voice shook. "Captain, their tactics. It's not just courage. It's chaos but organized. Every movement seems random yet deadly. They are a storm." He stared at the display, unable to tear his eyes away. The humans moved with an instinct that no machine, no algorithm, no training could replicate. They adapted instantly, responding to attacks with precision born of experience, instinct, and unity. On the human flagship, Captain Nathan watched the Krelian fleet crumble. He didn't celebrate. He understood the cost of war, the lives lost, and the sacrifices of his crew. "We keep moving," he said calmly. "We fight because we have to. We fight because we will protect each other." The crew nodded, their eyes shining with determination. Every human ship, even damaged, pressed forward. Every life mattered, and every ship was a shield for its allies. A Krelian destroyer tried to charge through a corridor of human ships, intending to break their line. Plasma fire cut across the void, aiming to obliterate the human vessels. But the humans didn't scatter. Instead, they split into smaller units, twisting and dodging with impossible speed. One human ship intercepted the attack, taking the hit in a calculated maneuver that saved others. The destroyer was destroyed in the counterattack, and the Krelian officers watched in disbelief. Commander Turek shouted over the comms, panic in his voice. Our fleet is collapsing. What kind of creatures are these? The words echoed through the bridges of every Krelian ship. No one had prepared them for this. No one had warned them. Captain Lara took a deep breath. She had studied humans from afar, thinking them weak and primitive. Now she realized she had been wrong. Humans were not weak. Humans were unstoppable. Every failed prediction, every miscalculation, every loss they suffered only made them stronger, faster, smarter. They were unpredictable, relentless, and full of heart. Lieutenant Morn shook his head. It's not just their fighting. It's their will, their unity, their courage. They don't fight because they have to. They fight because they choose to, and that choice makes them dangerous. The Krelian fleet was in chaos. Communication lines were overloaded. Systems were failing. Ships drifted without order, their crews panicking. Yet in the center of it all, the humans moved with clarity, precision, and fearlessness. They repaired damaged ships mid-battle. They saved allies in moments of danger. They fought not just to win, but to survive and protect. Admiral Vex, commanding from the rear, stared at the monitors. Sweat ran down his metallic face, and his pride, the foundation of his empire, cracked. No one warned us about humans, he muttered quietly. His voice was heavy with disbelief, awe, and fear. It was too late for regret. The humans had already proven that the Krelian Empire had underestimated them, and underestimating humans was a mistake no one could recover from. Captain Nathan looked ahead at the crumbling enemy fleet. His voice was calm but firm. We fight together. We fight for life, and no matter what they throw at us, we will not back down. His crew answered with quiet determination, their courage shining like a beacon in the void. In the darkness of space, the Krelian Empire learned a lesson it would never forget. Humans were not just fighters. Humans were a force of nature, unpredictable, unstoppable, and alive in ways the galaxy had never seen, and the chaos they brought was only beginning. This part is 650 words. Focuses on rising conflict. The Krelian fleet was in chaos, and Admiral Vex knew desperation had become their only option. He activated the fleet's ultimate weapon, a massive energy beam, the kind that could obliterate entire star systems. Its power crackled across the void, a weapon designed to leave nothing alive. If we cannot control them, we will destroy them all, Vex declared, his voice cold and final. On the human flagship, Captain Nathan saw the energy surge on the tactical display. His heart did not race with fear. It burned with determination. This is what we expected, he said calmly to his crew. They believe firepower alone can win. Let's show them courage and strategy are stronger than fear. His crew, despite the danger, nodded with quiet resolve. The beam surged forward, lighting up the darkness of space with destructive brilliance. Entire Krelian cruisers trembled under the energy wave. It was unstoppable. At least that was what the Krelian officers believed. But humans did not retreat. They did not panic. They moved with precise coordination, their ships splitting, twisting, and accelerating in ways no one had predicted. One human ship intercepted part of the energy stream. Captain Nathan had calculated the maneuver perfectly. By redirecting fragments of the beam through a complex formation, they could save their fleet while sending a portion of the destructive energy back at the Krelian ships. The result was instantaneous. Explosions erupted among the Krelian fleet as their own weapon turned against them. Officers screamed, alarms blared, and the pride of the Empire began to crumble. Lieutenant Morn, watching helplessly, could not believe his eyes. How can they survive that? How can they even do that? His voice shook with awe and terror. Every calculation, every prediction, every strategy had failed. Humans were not just fighting. They were redefining the rules of war. Captain Lara gritted her teeth as she watched ship after ship fall under their own weapons' redirected fire. This is impossible, she said quietly. Her voice trembled with a mixture of disbelief and fear. She had led fleets that destroyed entire civilizations, yet now she was powerless against beings she had once considered primitive. The humans were rewriting the game with courage, instinct, and unshakable resolve. The human fleet moved as one, each ship anticipating the other's moves with uncanny precision. Damage to one vessel was immediately countered by another. Injured crews were rescued mid-battle. Shields were strengthened where needed, and attacks were synchronized with deadly effectiveness. Chaos became their ally, and they wielded it like a weapon. Captain Nathan turned to his second-in-command. "We are not just surviving. We are showing them what it means to fight for life. Keep focus. Every ship, every crew, every heartbeat counts." The human crew followed his orders with unity and courage that transcended fear. Every movement, every decision. The galaxy had always been quiet for the Krelian Empire. They moved like shadows between stars, their fleet vast, powerful, and precise. For centuries, no race had challenged them. No system had resisted. No intelligence report had ever been wrong. They were supreme. The Krelian officers lived with pride, believing nothing could stop them. Until the humans appeared. It began as a faint signal at the edge of Krelian space. The sensor logs showed strange energy patterns, unsteady and irregular. The High Command studied it for hours, puzzled. "Primitive energy readings," one officer said, scrolling through the data. Could it be some uninhabited system anomaly? But the signal kept moving, purposeful and alive. It was moving toward them. Captain Lara, commanding one of the largest Krelian flagships, watched the approaching fleet with mild amusement. "Humans," she said, almost laughing. "Do we even know what they are capable of?" The name itself sounded foreign, weak. Reports said humans were small, fragile creatures, with thin metal ships that could not possibly survive space combat against the Krelian fleet. The Krelian High Command decided to send a small reconnaissance fleet to investigate. They wanted to confirm the intelligence before committing the full armada. Lieutenant Morn, a young Krelian officer, looked at the monitors with a mixture of curiosity and boredom. "They are so primitive," he said. "Their ships are barely armed. Any one of our cruisers could destroy them in seconds." The humans did not wait. They moved forward steadily without hesitation. The Krelian officers expected panic, fear, retreat, but the human fleet did not waver. Instead, it seemed almost alive. The ship swerved in ways that were unpredictable, avoiding obstacles with agility no Krelian computer could have calculated. Captain Lara leaned closer to the screen. "Strange. They do not hesitate. They do not flee." Her voice was calm, but a shadow of unease touched her tone. Something about the humans felt different, as if they were not merely reacting. They were thinking, feeling, daring. The first message came from the human fleet. A simple transmission, unarmed, unthreatening, and yet it carried a strange confidence. "We come in peace, but we will defend ourselves if needed." The Krelian officers glanced at one another. This was unusual. No species had ever dared address the Krelian Empire directly, let alone with such calm pride. The Krelian High Command decided to escalate. A warning shot would suffice. One plasma beam fired from a Krelian cruiser toward the nearest human ship. The humans did not panic. They did not scatter. Instead, their ship split into two smaller vessels in a maneuver that seemed impossible. The beam missed entirely. Captain Lara's lips tightened. "This is unusual," she murmured. The word unpredictable echoed in her mind, a concept she was not used to considering. She had commanded fleets for decades. She had crushed civilizations without mercy. And yet these humans, they were different. The Krelian officers began to whisper among themselves. Some laughed nervously, some frowned in disbelief. "Primitive creatures," one said. But his voice carried uncertainty. They should not have survived that maneuver. Yet survive they did, moving forward with determination that no algorithm, no prediction, and no strategy could fully explain. As the human fleet approached closer, a strange emotion filled the Krelian bridge. Respect, fear, awe. It was unfamiliar, uncomfortable, yet undeniable. For the first time in history, the Krelian Empire faced a being that could not be measured simply by technology, by ships, by firepower. Something about humans transcended all predictions. Captain Lara took a deep breath and said quietly, almost to herself, "No one warned us about humans." The words hung in the room, a shadow of foreboding. And somewhere deep in the stars, the human fleet moved steadily forward, unaware of the fear they were beginning to sow, unaware of the storm they were about to bring. The first contact had begun, and the Krelian Empire would soon learn that they were not dealing with ordinary beings. They were dealing with humans. The human fleet kept moving, steady and fearless. Their ships were smaller, slower, and far less advanced than the Krelian war machines. But they carried something no technology could measure: courage. Captain Lara watched the monitors in silence, her mind racing. Every human maneuver seemed reckless, yet it was perfect. Every move challenged logic, defying Krelian predictions. Lieutenant Morn leaned over the tactical display. "Captain, their ships are dangerously slow. We can destroy them before they even reach our perimeter." He sounded confident, but the tiny flicker of uncertainty in his eyes betrayed him. No fleet had ever survived an encounter with the Krelian Empire, not even for a few minutes. Yet these humans seemed to welcome danger, as if fear was a concept they had never learned. The first shots were fired. Plasma beams streaked across space faster than anything humans had faced before. Krelian warships fired in perfect formation, calculating every angle, every movement. But the humans did not scatter. They twisted, turned, and dodged in patterns no computer could predict. Some ships split into smaller groups, each moving with a strange, instinctive rhythm. On the bridge of the human flagship, Captain Nathan stood tall. His eyes shone with quiet determination. "Remember who we are," he said to his crew. "We fight for each other. We fight because we refuse to be afraid. Today we show them what humans can do." His voice was steady, commanding, and full of belief. The crew responded with cheers, their voices echoing through the metal corridors of the ship. The Krelian officers could not understand it. Lieutenant Morn stared at the display, mouth slightly open. How are they not panicking?" he whispered. He had seen civilizations surrender at the mere sight of a Krelian fleet, their entire species crushed by fear before even fighting. And yet these humans were different. They were alive in a way the Krelian officers had never experienced. Captain Lara clenched her hands. "They are unpredictable," she admitted. Her mind, trained to calculate, to anticipate, to control, struggled to make sense of the humans. Every strike they took was met with resistance. Every attack they endured only seemed to make them stronger. It was impossible, and yet it was happening. One of the smaller human ships shot past a Krelian cruiser at impossible speed. Lieutenant Morn called out, "Their velocity! It shouldn't be possible. Their engines can't handle that maneuver." But the ship moved as if guided by instinct, unharmed, dodging every attack with precise timing. Across the fleet, Captain Nathan smiled. "They don't know what they're up against," he said quietly. "Good. Let's teach them anyway." He pressed a sequence of commands, and the human ships moved in perfect synchronization. Their formations were chaotic to any observer, but each movement was intentional, precise, deadly. The Krelian fleet faltered. Communications buzzed with confusion. "Why aren't they retreating?" One officer shouted. "Why do they keep advancing?" The words carried disbelief, fear, and something deeper, realization. For the first time, the Krelian Empire faced a force that could not be controlled or predicted. Captain Lara stared at the approaching human fleet, feeling a chill she had never known in her life. She had commanded fleets that had crushed entire worlds. She had never faced an enemy like this. "They fight with heart," she murmured. The words seemed foreign in the sterile, calculated environment of the Krelian bridge. And in the midst of chaos, Lieutenant Morn whispered, almost to himself, "No one warned us about humans." His voice was small, but the weight of it filled the room. The Krelian officers could feel it, the first crack in their unshakable confidence. Fear had entered their hearts, and it was only the beginning. As the human ships advanced, moving boldly into the heart of Krelian space, one thing became clear. This was no ordinary species. They were something entirely different, something dangerous, something unstoppable. The battle for the first contact had begun, and the Krelian Empire had already begun to realize the truth that no one had prepared them for. Humans did not fight like anyone else. And that would change everything. The battle had begun, but it was unlike anything the Krelian Empire had ever seen. Their ships, vast and powerful, moved with mechanical precision, calculating every trajectory and angle. Yet the humans did not retreat. They did not panic. They adapted. Every time a Krelian ship fired, a human vessel responded in a way no algorithm could predict. Lieutenant Morn stared at the tactical displays, disbelief painted across his face. "Captain, their maneuvers, they are impossible," he said. Every analysis, every prediction had failed. The humans were slow and fragile by Krelian standards, yet somehow they were surviving, and striking back with precision. Each human attack was unpredictable, yet effective. It was chaos turned into order, instinct transformed into strategy. Captain Lara gritted her teeth. They are not just surviving. They are learning. Her voice was tight with tension. She had commanded fleets that crushed entire civilizations, fleets that never lost, fleets that left nothing alive in their path. And yet, she was beginning to see a terrifying truth. Humans were different. They fought not like machines. They fought like living fire. In the human flagship, Captain Nathan looked at the Krelian formations on his screen. "We do not fight because we want to destroy," he told his crew. "We fight because we refuse to be afraid. Every move we make, every risk we take for each other." His words were simple, but they carried power. The crew responded with determination, their